Two ASU professors were part of a group that recently discovered an extremely rare find within the pages of an extremely rare book at the Burton Barr Library in Phoenix. The group discovered reading notes written by the revered 17th century English poet, or 18th century, 18th century, John Milton, John Milton, author of the epic poem Paradise Lost. For more on this, we welcome Jonathan Hope and Brandy Adams from ASU's Department of English. Good to have you both here. Jonathan, we'll start with you. Let's just really start with you. Who is John Milton?
He's the second best British poet after Shakespeare, or the second most important poet after Shakespeare. And he's particular, but he's kind of different from Shakespeare because Shakespeare doesn't give himself away very much. He kind of holds himself back in his writing. Yeah. Milton lays it all out, and he was a very political writer.
Didn't know that much about Shakespeare, know a lot about Milton, correct?
Yeah. We have a lot of information about him.
And Brandy, as far as Paradise Lost, for that time, 18th century, not 17th century, just an amazing piece of work that seems to hold up and will hold up forever.
Yes. I agree. I think one of the reasons why it does is because it retells the story of Genesis in the Old Testament, and a lot of people connect with that, and they enjoy sort of reading someone else's version of that story.
All right, Brandy, Burton Barr Library, Central Phoenix, we got a 1587 edition of a book that I think Shakespeare used to use or something along these lines?
Right, so it's Holinshed's Chronicles, which tells sort of the history of England from sort of the beginning of time to Elizabeth I, the Queen of England, who was the queen when Shakespeare was writing, and when Milton was born, I believe. And
Milton's 1608. He's
1608, born, yes, barely, or just after. Yeah. And so so the Chronicle was something that was used by a lot of different playwrights to tell a bunch of different stories. But it was also used by people who were trying to make political arguments or to think through problems, and Milton used this book.
Apparently, Jonathan, he really did use this, but this is a 1587 edition of a rare book. How does Burton Barr Library get such a thing?
Well, thanks to the generosity of someone Alfred Knight, who retired to Phoenix in 1936. He's a very successful East Coast businessman, was involved in finance and worked for several manufacturing companies on the East Coast, retired to Phoenix and collected books. And collected books very, very astutely and well. And when he died in 1958, he gave his whole collection to the people of Phoenix.
And Brandy, in this particular book, how do you know John Milton was scribbling in the margins here?
It's a lot of luck because we happen to have invited 3 scholars or 4 scholars from around the country, 2 of whom recognized the handwriting, and one of whom, Claire M.L. Bourne, who's an associate professor at Penn State University, is the expert, one of the world's experts on his handwriting. And after Erin Pratt, who's at the University of Texas, called her over, she said that she just knew that this was Milton's handwriting because she had worked on it previously. Yeah,
was it shock? Was it disbelief? Was it you're putting me on, pulling my leg?
Yeah, there was
a lot of shock.
Yeah,
picture taking, sending to other experts to double check to make sure that the instinct was correct.
And from when reading about this, it was like the letter E, was that what it was?
Yeah, so Milton's handwriting is actually very distinctive, and he changes it halfway through his life. He goes to Italy, which was a big trip for him, and he clearly was very influenced by Italian fashions. So he starts altering his E's to make them in a more Italian fashion. So we can actually date this pretty precisely to about 1639, 1638.
When the scholar that originally found this and said, hey, was the scholar looking for something like that?
No, the whole purpose of our gathering the group of people together was to just take a look at the collection and see what was there, because it's about 2,500 books from all different time periods, and there's a substantial collection of books that are from before 1680, and so they just were looking through it and found it.
I mean, it kind of raises the question, are there other books here written by other folks of antiquity? I mean, what's going on?
Well, I mean, a lot of the books in the Knight collection have annotations in the margins. Are there annotations by famous people? Probably not. Probably not as good as this. I mean, one thing it does highlight, though, this is only the third English book that we know about with Milton's handwriting in it. But we know that Milton had a huge library, which was dispersed after he died. So there's very, very good chance that there are other books by Milton, probably not in Phoenix, but somewhere.
Well, the guy who came to Phoenix, though, and had this in 1936 and whatever, had this, I mean, did we know where he got the book?
Yeah, we do. We know the book dealer in Hollywood that he bought it from.
Hollywood?
Yeah.
I mean, we got Hollywood and Phoenix, Arizona for John Milton here.
Yeah. Well, rich people buy books. They fly around the world.
And I did want to ask about that, Brandy. This idea of this antiquarians and the people that collect, and this is a big deal, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of neat in a way.
Yeah, it shows you that people sort of really thought about collecting books as a part of a legacy, because Knight didn't want the collection to be split up like other major collectors after they pass away. Sometimes their families would sell the copies off. He decided to give it to the people of Phoenix, which was really special. And he's sort of more like major collectors in other parts of the country, like at the Huntington or at the Folger Library in DC. And it also tells you that it's kind of fun to collect books because you never know what you're going to find inside.
No kidding, no kidding. But and is this book going to stay in the Burton Barr Library, or is it going to go up you're going to hightail it somewhere else? And
No.
No, as part of the bequest, and as I understand it, Arizona law can't do anything with it. It has to stay
It
where
has to stay.
they're not going to big time it. The book's not
No.
going to big time you, is it?
No.
Yeah. Have you gone back and looked at it again?
Yes, absolutely.
And what do you think when you look at it?
It's really interesting because there's a couple of different handwritings, and because I'm not an expert on Milton, I got fascinated by a completely different person who was writing in blue pen, who I assumed was writing in like the 1940s. So I got really focused on that. Was like, yeah, that's some really old handwriting. I wonder who that belongs to. And then it turns out to be Milton.
Yeah. Well, a great discovery. Congratulations to both of you, and enjoy the conversation. It's kind of neat, isn't it? The idea of these old books just sitting around waiting to be discovered.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.